CIO 100 and hosted across some incredible venues in Kenya. This year is going to be just the same, if not better. We're super excited to invite you to DX 100 this year, and the difference this year is for the first time ever, we are going to be celebrating and awarding people outside of the tech environment for their impact and their influence on digital transformation across multiple industries. Of course, the CIO remains at the heart of digital transformation, and we will be celebrating them in that way. However, this year we'll be celebrating CFOs, CMOs, CEOs, and businesses all the way across Africa, so not just from East Africa. We are so excited to invite you and to launch the DX 100 Awards. Put your entries in and we'll see you in November.
You get a child at 19, really, you don't want to see your peers. You're seeing them doing all this stuff, graduating, going to the US, going to Canada, and it needs a lot of strength to tell yourself that that's their journey. It gives you a heart of gratitude where you look at your kids or you look at your life and you're like, this is me. You can do it. It doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter your level of education. I'm not saying people don't wasisome. It's always good to have an education, but you have that everything that you have gone through in your life is meant to take you somewhere. So that's your story, only telling you.
Getting a job was not just a walk in the park, because also as you grow, the challenge becomes bigger, and also you want to have a bigger piece of the cake. We are creating an impact that's showing that you don't necessarily need to be on a full engagement. I'm able to tap value from your services. If you are doing business first, commit and give enough time to what you are doing. Then number two, an idea is not enough. Work on it every day and be hungry for growth. Because if you have to make sense and be relevant in business, you have to be hungry for growth. What you did yesterday is not enough to sustain you for today.
To live in a company house, you're driving a company car, etc. When the investor comes, everything is gone. And he said, we really want to work with you. So that we became experts, like, I wish I'd watched this, I wish I'd watched this. Suddenly, you're homeless, you had a business, you're not the decision maker anymore. If you decide you want to be an entrepreneur, don't think twice about it, don't overanalyze it, take the risk and plug in. Trust God and look for mentors at the same time. And family is also very important. You need to have a good support system, family, friends, get the right environment, because you need sanity to run a business successfully.
Because entrepreneurship is a marathon. It's a long haul. It's not a sprint. It is a marathon. Who are they? Who are this they are waiting for they to do? Your call will always call you back. I loved social. I went to a social work class and I sat there and I was out. I said, this is me. So I didn't know how it was going to play. Collaborate with other people. And as you collaborate, you will be able to fine-tune your idea. You'll be able to learn more from others to be able to improve your own idea. Someone in that meeting will say something that was going to be the gap that you wanted to fill for you to perfect your idea. So don't fear. Don't fear to share your ideas with people, because as you share it, you finalize it.
We talk about doing what is right, not what is easy. If you are true to a cause, then no matter what happens, your history, your credibility will speak for itself. The challenges have helped me rediscover myself. I needed to carry on the dream. Making money doesn't mean you're profitable. So you must understand your journey and take time to grow until this business can finally start paying you. So it is a journey.
every African small business is able to grow, but it is also helping them have the right data, have the right infrastructure. How do I authenticate my data? We had enough for what we needed to do. If you didn't start it yesterday, now is just the opportune time to start. Don't wait for anything to be perfect. You know, just start now. Keep planning. Keep refining your solution. Keep listening to your customers. Be humble enough to listen to your customers and understand what they want.
I don't want to become a pilot. I want to be the person who is seated back in the plane and the pilot is ferrying to a destination. The company has to resolve some sort of societal issues that we have. It is the thirst of creating something that lives on after I'm not there. I've always wanted much more. I would term my business success when it runs when I'm not there. That is very important for me. Just turning a profit is not enough for me. I want the business to run when I'm not there. And that's what I'm aiming at.
I have the reason why this and this is not working, and if I keep doing things differently, it will work. They call me the dreamer, and this is something that they started calling me from high school. But at that time I was thinking in my mind, what is she thinking? Why would I need a job after 4 years? If you can't put your time and energy to get it to a point where people can see some results or traction, then you'll only have yourself to blame. Nobody owes you anything, or nobody owes anybody anything. It is you and you alone to make your idea a success.
Today I've learned that a concept known as abundant mentality. You don't think that this one idea or this one solution is only yours. You have to hone the skills, and I think it's just over experience that you begin to hone those skills and realizing that it's not only one idea you'll ever have in your entire life. Yeah? And every time there is a need, because that muscle is working, you will always be looking for a solution. You need to dream big dreams, you know. I think that we have the capacity to do a lot more to change the course of the world, yeah. But we need to have a deep self-belief in ourselves.
When someone tells me they're broke and they're not making money, and I'm like, what? Like, there's so many ways to make money in this world. Because of digitalization, it's actually increased your avenues of actually making money. Our revenue actually like doubled during COVID period. Oh, I can actually just take my phone and Google African pendants, and then you find our results. Yeah. With entrepreneurship, there's no map. You just go in there, it's like a bush, you're just cutting, looking for a way. You just go in there with a machete, trying to clear a way for you to get to where you want to get to. So don't be scared to jump in, and don't expect a roadmap. Create your own roadmap. When someone tells me they're broke and they're not making money, and I'm like, what? Like, there's so many ways to make money in this world. Because of digitalization, it's actually increased your avenues of actually making money. Our revenue actually like doubled during COVID period. Oh, I can actually just take my phone and Google African pendants, and then you find our results. Yeah. This is the Legends Jasiri edition. I grew up with a single mother. My parents got divorced when I was 2, but my dad has not been actively in my life. So my mom had to raise me and my brother together, my older brother. And I got to actually interact with my brother for the first time after he finished class 8, because she couldn't take care of the both of us, and she had to take my brother to my grandmother in Nyahururu. So for a few years, it was just me and my mom. Then one day, my mom comes with this guy and is like, "This is your brother." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's my brother now." Yeah, so that's been my family life. Jennifer is a very fun-loving person, storyteller. I love to tell stories. Very passionate about African stories, especially because I grew up hearing about European heroes and never heroes of my color. So later I was very interested about learning African history. Jennifer is also a dog lover. I have very cute dogs. And Jennifer is also a farmer. I like to grow my own food. I grew up in Nairobi and Kiambu. I was born in Nairobi, then moved to Kiambu for a while, and then moved to Kikuyu, and now permanently live in Sigona. So I was never a bookworm, but funnily enough, I was an A student. But again, because of storytelling, I love everything I would learn. I used to like to associate with a story. I was very good with social sciences, especially. So I went to Msagitao Primary School in Kikuyu. Passed, got an A, went to South Tetu High School in Nyeri, got an A also, and then went to the University of Nairobi, where I did BCom and specialized in marketing. So my mom, I feel like I'm a tiny my mom. And this is because my mom has been very entrepreneurial our whole life. When my dad and my mom broke up, she just left with 200 shillings and a radio. And she took my brother to my grandmother, and then we got a tiny house, 1-bedroom house in Wangige, the two of us. And I remember we just had a floor mattress, the radio, and a cassette. And my mom loves to sing a lot. So I remember in the evenings she'll come home, then sing. Then I said singing because of her. So she'll be singing and recording herself in the cassette, and there's a tiny baby just trying to sing also. And then she had not gotten any education when she was getting married, because she got married very early at 19. So she had to go back to school, and she decided to go to teaching school, and she couldn't pay school fees. So she used to wake up very early in the morning, go to Gikomba, buy gunia sacks, and then resell them. Come to Wangige market, then resell them to the vendors. So that's how she paid for school. And I feel like over the years, my mom has been very entrepreneurial. There's a time she was selling soap. It's multi-purpose soap. It's like a liquid soap that you can use for everything. So she's done that business. She's also done Mtumba business, selling Mtumba clothes. She's also sold fruits and vegetables in the market. So she's always been very entrepreneurial her whole life. And I think I've taken that a lot from her, because she's taught me that anywhere you go, you just have to think outside the box and you can make money. So do you need to sell smoky? Do you need to sell mayai? Do you need to polish people's shoes? There's something that you can always do to provide value to someone and earn from that. My idea of entrepreneurship, as I'd mentioned before, is value creation. So what do I do for you? What can I do for you to make your life a bit easier? And then how do you reward me for that? So for example, how do I make you, what Uber is doing, how do I make you move from point A to point B, and in a convenient way? So I'm creating value for you, I'm making it more convenient for you to do this thing, and then you appreciate the value creation by giving me something in exchange. So for me, entrepreneurship will always be that. How do you look at something and identify a gap, and then how do you fill that gap by making people's lives easier? Because again, at the end of the day, value creation is how do I make things convenient, how do I make things seamless and easy for another person? So the name of my company is Muthoni Unchained. Muthoni Unchained, and the reason why we named it Muthoni was because, after my mom is called Muthoni, and she's very hardworking. And Unchained is moving away from the shackles of what Africans should be. So what my business does, we have a subsidiary of my business that is a marketplace platform, what we call Unchained Social. So what the marketplace platform does is we bring together players in what we call the economic culture of Africa. And the economic culture of Africa is the sector that deals with handicrafts, handmade crafts. So, and this sector is one of the biggest sectors in Africa. It's everywhere across Africa, but it's been neglected for a very long time. So what we've done is we work with the players in the sector. So from the artisan or the vendor to the consumer who wants to buy items from that. And then we've also integrated financial players and knowledge exchange players. So what the business does is create a marketplace for artisans to sell their items and for customers to easily and conveniently access these items. It's a funny story. The idea of the business came around because, again, I told you I'm a scholar of African history. I've always loved African history. And I'm a very dramatic dresser. I like to call it dramatic dresser because I will wear headscarves. I'll want to wear like a bunch of Maasai bangles. I've always been that way. And I remember growing up, guys were like, oh, every time I wear something, like, where did you get your outfit? Where did you get this? So initially it started as a business where I used to sew vitenges and buy items for clients. So if someone sees my item, they're like, oh, where did you get this? Then I actually realized there was a big gap. So for a while, I sold vitenges to my mom's friends and people in the church. And then it became a serious business of selling vitenges. And then I was like, okay, so vitenges are actually going. What else can we do? We said then I met Pauline, my co-founder, and then we said introducing jewelry and other items. Then after a while, we were like, okay, so everyone is selling, it's become a thing. Everyone in Africa is selling African authentic items. So how do we create more value to these vendors? We realized, so everyone is selling, but they're segregated. But how about we let the guys who are selling come on the same platform? It becomes easier, like what Amazon does. Everyone is selling different items, but they can congregate on one platform where it's easy for the consumer to access. It's also easy to control prices because you can regulate what's happening on the platform. And we're like, okay, there's actually a need for an Amazon that deals with African authentic items. So that's how the business came about. When I was in university, I used to wake up so early at 4 a.m. By 4 a.m. I'm in Gikomba. So go to Gikomba, buy second-hand clothing for like 50 bob, 30 bob, then come back to campus, University of Nairobi, and then resell them for 300 or 400. So I think I've always been a hustler. Let me call it a hustler. Like I've always seen something, I'm like, oh, guys want pencils. Let's go get a bunch of pencils somewhere and come resell them. And I think Pauline has also been that way. And our parents have known each other for a long time. And we happened to go to the same high school. And from that, we were like, okay, both of us are very innovative. We are very curious about life. I've never been an 8 to 5 person. I worked for 2.5 years. Then I was like, I don't think this is for me. I think I prefer to actually take charge of what I want to do and do things that I'm passionate about. So, and then also being a risk taker, because sometimes it's very scary to just start something out of the blue. So where we got our initial seed funding was bootstrapping. So both of us have worked for, her longer, she's worked for 5 years, I worked for 2.5 years. And in that time I was able to save some like cushion money. And then both of us had done the same. So we actually, the whole time we've been running the business has been by bootstrapping. Then reached a point where actually the business is profitable. We are able to take profits from the business and insert back to the business. So that's how we got our initial funding, just from our savings. But right now, as we're trying to expand, because we want to expand to other countries, we are actually in the process of raising money. So over the, let me say 2.5 years that we've been in business together, but mainly for us to actually, when we started off, it was a fashion business. Then I told you it's evolved into now a marketplace business. In that time, we've spent out of our own savings around 1.5 million. But now we are looking to raise about 2 more million to be able to expand into 2 more countries in East Africa. There are 2 types of people we rely on, the artisan and the vendor. So we work both ways. How do we acquire the artisan or the vendor, and then how do we acquire the customer? So on the vendor and artisan side has been, we visit Maasai markets on weekends, speak to artisans when you're like, okay, you've been selling offline for a while, would you like to actually take your business online? And then when it comes to the customer, mainly through ads. Word of mouth actually first from our customers. When someone buys something, they're like, oh yeah, we got this from Unchained Social, you need to go look at it. And then also we've been doing Instagram and Facebook ads. One of the biggest challenges we faced, as I'd mentioned, was during COVID. So we were expanding too fast, and the IT infrastructure did not allow us to have many vendors or sellers on the platform. So that was a very big, we had sleepless nights of how do we keep coding, how do we actually look for other applications that will allow us to integrate more sellers on the platform. That was a very big issue. Then the other issue was we started getting international customers. So how do you start moving things and in a very affordable way, because most of the shipping companies like DHL, FedEx are a bit expensive based on the agreements you have with them and the amount of goods you're moving. So it was like, how do we secure a very good deal for our customers, because at the end of the day, the customer pays for shipping in our business model. So how do we secure affordable shipping rates to allow international customers to keep buying from us? Then I think that challenge we're facing right now is we want to expand. So you find a vendor in South Africa is calling you and they're like, oh, we want to sell on your platform. But we're like, because we handle distribution on our end, we handle fulfillment. So from when the customer orders something, we have to actually go back and liaise with the vendor. How does the item come to a fulfillment center? Then how do we package it and take it to the customer? So you see, when you actually get to work outside East Africa, you're not physically present in South Africa, it becomes a bit of a problem. That's why we're trying to raise funds to how do we get more personnel into these other countries that we want to expand into. Half of my team are IT professionals. My co-founder is an IT professional. One of our customer experience leads is also an IT professional. So we've actually had very good, when it comes to human resource and people who are capable to actually do the job, we've been lacking on that front. So it's been easy for us to be able to expand our IT infrastructure, make sure it's stable, and can be able to support our customers and our vendors. So that has been the most amazing thing. Plus, I also have a background in fintech. I worked in fintech for 2.5 years. So in that period, I got to learn how do you operate a marketplace actually, how do you handle remittance of payments, how do you handle customers, how do you create systems that actually automate every process of the organization so that it's easy, you don't have to do things manually. So it's easy for you guys to do a bunch of stuff when because our staff is not that big, we're not many, we're a team of 7, but because of automation and using technological platforms, it's easy for you to be able to manage the business. 80% of our business is digital. It's based on first the IT infrastructure that hosts the marketplace, and then even customer relations, everything is done on a digital platform. The only time we have human interaction is when first onboarding the vendors and now when taking the item to the customer. Other than that, everything else is done on an IT platform. When you sit down with artisans and you listen to their stories, you actually connect with them, because most of them, the stories are, my father was a bronze worker, or my dad or my mom was a bead worker, and then I learned the skill from them. They could not be able to take me to school, so this is the only way I have to sustain myself. So sometimes I wake up with nightmares and you're like, there are like 30 or 50 people who depend on me. So that actually pushes me. So how do I improve their lives? How do I make sure if I have Juguna or Ronyango or whoever who is my artisan is sleeping in peace because they know they're working on their art, Jennifer will have to worry about selling their art. So that's what really motivates me, the artisan stories. And because the most actually beautiful thing is these are indigenous arts that are passed down. So you'll find a family, the great-grandmother was a bronze worker, the mother, it's been passed down in that whole lineage of their family. So when you hear such stories, you're just like, wow, this person actually has been doing this their whole life, has grown around people who do this. So it also inspires you. So how do I actually make sure their art and whatever has been passed down is not in vain? In my context, I'll say success is I stand in a room and only one person is not wearing an African item. And the reason why that is, I'm very passionate about that. In my team, we call it Afro-consumerism. We're trying to push for Africans to be very proud of how they look, how they speak, their hair, even the way they dress. So success for me will be, if I decide to wear a pair of jeans, it's because yesterday I'd worn a kitenge pants and today I just feel like wearing this. And success for me also will be, how do we make it comfortable for people to even go to a normal 8 to 5 job wearing a headscarf, a normal 8 to 5 job wearing dramatic handpieces. And then also, how do we improve the artisan industry? How do we make sure, because again in Africa, the arts have always been considered as not lucrative. If you failed in school, you become an artist. How do we actually change that perception and make people, because most people love to creative arts, so how do we make more people actually adapt the creative arts and be proud of their heritage and take it up? So that would be success for me. My artisans and the vendors we work with have actually really benefited from our platform. First off being that it's now convenient for them to sell, because before they had to wait for the customer to come to them. And it's restricted because Maasai markets are only found in, especially in Kenya, it's only in Nairobi. There are no Maasai markets in Kisumu or Mombasa or Naivasha, it's just Nairobi. So someone might want to buy something from Mombasa but they can't access. So it's become easy, it's benefited the artisans because they have access to a larger market. The other thing that we do with them is we provide financial services. So from business loans to business insurance to credit lines. They've actually more than half, 3/4 of the artisans we have on the platform have taken loans with us, business loans. And then most of them also on an insurance premium plan that we have for them, because most of their items are sold by City Council to be allowed to sell in the markets. And City Council don't handle their items with care. So they throw them around, they get broken. So when they have that insurance policy, they know if a bunch of my items get destroyed, at least they have something to fall back on that will help me get to the same place. So we've actually made it easier for them. And the third thing will be, most of them were actually moving away from the creative arts simply because it was not paying. And it's so sad to find someone their whole family has been doing this, but simply because they don't get money from it, they abandon it and start looking for other jobs or other things to do. So we've given them that security that you can actually continue with your work and be comfortable in creating because you love to create. Let us worry about the selling. Based on the items you produce, there are different insurance policies. So when it comes to maybe bronze work or woodwork, it's very hard for that to break. But when it comes to beadwork, like the guys who mainly work with beadwork, because the items are fragile, sometimes they bend or sometimes the beads get undone and all the beads are lost. So what we normally do is you pay based on what the kind of arts you are involved in, you pay a premium monthly. And then when something happens, like for example, City Council didn't store your stuff nicely, they just threw them, something broke. So they'll just come and tell us, oh, by the way, I lost this and these things from last weekend. We get someone to come evaluate, oh, okay, this actually happened to your stuff. You've lost items worth this. Based on your premium, you can get this amount. If it's not enough, we'll also top it up with a business loan based on your qualifications for you to access the loan. My advice to aspiring entrepreneurs will be, no idea is stupid. And the reason why I say this is because there's this notion where for you to be an entrepreneur, you have to be an innovator. You have to be Elon Musk and come up with, start saying you want to create spaceships, you want something that has not been thought of, or an electric car. You don't have to do that. You can actually take an existing idea and improve it. So when you look at the value array in your business, how do you skew value? So if it's been a taxi service in Kenya, and you notice, by the all taxi services have very bad customer service. Then how do you build a taxi service and then fix the customer service? Actually, you can, and you'll start competing and actually getting your market share. So there's no idea that's stupid, and you don't have to come up with a new idea to start a business. You can actually take something that's existing and then find a way to improve it. Risk is always going to happen. You cannot, if there was something like assured risk where you know, if I do this, it's going to pay off, then there'll be no point of us working. Everyone will become an entrepreneur. So allow yourself to fail. And when you fail, don't use failure as, oh, I cannot be good at anything. Use it as a stepping stone. So this does not work. So what else will work? So look at it that way. If this does not work, what other path can I take? And if, again, I told you we started our business as a fashion business and realized the fashion business is flooded. So how else do you, and it would have been considered as a failure because you're in this pool swimming in so many fish. But how do you become the shark? So you realize, okay, I can sell the items, but I can actually create a platform where people who are already selling can continue selling and make it easier. So just look at it that way. If this does not work, what else will work? This and this might happen. But with entrepreneurship, there is no map. You just go in there, it's like a bush, you're just cutting, looking for a way. You just go in there with a machete, trying to clear a way for you to get to where you want to get to. So don't be scared to jump in and don't expect a roadmap. Create your own roadmap.
Because entrepreneurship is a marathon. It's a long haul. It's not a sprint. It is a marathon. Who are they? Who are this they I'm waiting for they to do? Your call will always call you back. I loved social. I went to a social work class and I sat there and I was out. I said, this is me. So I didn't know how it was going to play. This is the Legends Jasiri edition. My name is Jennifer Kaberi. I am a CEO and founder of Mtoto News. And my most important job, I'm a mom. You know, most of the time when you're talking about our careers, we forget that you have a full-time job. These are the ones that are side hustles, you know. So I have a person in the tech world who looks like me, who happened to have stolen my face when we were at the womb, my twin. So we were born a few decades ago. I don't want to be killed by her if I say how old we are. So a few decades ago, we were born in Nairobi, in Mathare, my sister and myself. My parents, then when they were starting life, they were not able. So we were born in Mathare, so we kind of know life there. But during the coup, the only coup that was in Kenya, attempt in 1982, my parents moved to Nakuru, and that's where we have been brought up. So I always say my life started when I was born, because I was meant to die and I think that's why I'm so passionate about children and development and economy, because I was meant to die. So I was a preemie child. I was in neonatal ICU for 6 weeks. According to my mom, I could not eat a lot, so they used to give me food with tubes. Then I think the health system was working in Kenya because it was Pumwani. It was not like a fancy hospital. It was just Pumwani. And I survived. And then during my 6 week stay in the hospital as a little baby, there was a power outage. And 20 of my bedmates passed away. I was the only one who survived out of 20 babies who were in the neonatal clinic. So that for me is, I always say, that is a call that I have a purpose. There's a reason I am on earth and I need to fulfill. So as I said, we moved to Nakuru. My parents are pastors. So we were brought up around community, and we saw our parents giving and sacrificing for others, okay? And I remember one particular time, we didn't have like lots of food, but I think we had an extra bag of maize or something, you know, the 2 kg bags. And this family came, the mom looked as if they had been beaten or they had been kicked out of the house. And she came with her 5 children and they did not have food at all. And you could see, my mom looked at these children and she said, come. And we had 2 of the 2 kg, my mom gave 1 of them. And that moved me, because I saw how my parents were struggling getting food. So, and that I felt like, what moves my mom to do some of these things? Just giving to children. And I think from that day, I told myself, when I finish, and my parents were not, I'm saying we're not from a very well-off family when we were growing up, and I saw my parents struggling paying our school fees. And at some point, I think my sister and I had decided to drop out of school so that my parents can be able to take all of us. We are 4 of us, me and my twin, and my 2 siblings, my brother, my 2 brothers. I said, let's drop to school so my parents can be able, when others are told stop, me and my sister had decided to stop school so that my parents can be able to take my other 2 siblings to school, and my cousins and my many cousins who were in the same household. So all of us can at least have a basic standard 8 education. But my dad told us that's nonsense, go back to school. So I promised myself that when I finish school, standard 8, not form 4, that I'll give 1 year of my life to service, okay? To service, to humanity. I didn't know, at that age, I was really young. I think I was in class 6 or class 5, thereabouts. I didn't know what was that. So when I finished my class, I was super grateful thank God. I went to Kisumu Girls High School. for Form 1, Form 2. I met amazing people, including a current senator or women's rep. And then I moved schools because the humidity there was not good for my health. I was very sickly all the time. Malaria was my best friend, so I had to move schools. So I moved schools and went to Kinango, where I finished my high school. But there, during what happened in high school, in my high school, my teachers, my new school, they saw my leadership potential and they started giving me leadership roles. And leadership roles that were aligned to my vision and mission, my passion, serving community. Like I was the environmental prefect, not DH prefect, guys, not compound prefect. I was the environmental prefect. So I was in charge of ensuring trees are planted. I was ensuring that the compound is clean, mobilizing people. So I was that, and I didn't know what that meant, but it made so much difference for me because when you're a prefect in high school, especially, you have become a big-headed person and you think you can be able to rule. I always say corruption and bad leadership in Kenya starts from high school. That's why, because they give you big heads. But for me, that particular leadership role made me want to go to the toilets, find the toilets are not clean, remove my nice sweater, my jacket, my sweater as a prefect, and clean the toilets, okay? Because that is what that role meant. It is just going to serve humanity. And when I finished high school, I wanted to be a lawyer, okay? And why I wanted to be a lawyer is because I told you, when I was growing up, I saw a lot of children being abused, okay? And I always say, I do not want children to go through this. And I thought the best way to do this was to become a lawyer. So I really wanted to become a lawyer. And having experienced abuse at a young age, I felt no child should go through abuse. So I wanted to go to be a lawyer. And because of, when you're growing up, there was this, I think there was legal law or something. There was a program on TV, and I wanted to be those people who go, Your Honor, sir, this person needs to be this, and to be able to be a prosecutor for children. But I did not make the marks. I cried when I didn't get my marks for Form 4. I remember I cried and pouted and cried. My mom is a no-nonsense, so she came to my room and looked at me and said, Are you done crying? So what is next? So when you're done crying, what is next? Are you going to pout? And she kicked me and my sister out of her house. But that is the best thing my mom ever did. It was not a bad kick out. It was like, go get a life in Nairobi. You cannot pout here crying that you have failed exams. You have not failed. You don't know what failure is. During my schoolwork, my school honors, during my degree, I worked as a volunteer at New Life Homes, at an organization in Mukuru, and so by the time I was finishing up college, I had 2 years of experience. And this is what I encourage young people. Because young people, they sit at home because they're doing degree, they bam. Nowadays, I think they have Netflix, they have TikTok, and they sit at home. They don't know they can be able to volunteer at the same time in school. By the time you're finishing your school, you have experience. When that organization or that company is asking for experience, I have these years of experience because you did that. So by the time I was finishing my university and graduating, I volunteered for another 6 months. But that one meant I had like about 2.5 years of experience cumulatively. My 6 months of volunteering in between my diploma and my degree, and then during my degree. So after that, I got an international job. I was seconded to work by UNICEF with the government of Malawi. So I worked there for about 3 years. But still there, you could see, and that's something that breaks my heart. It is the same thing. You can say a child in Malawi, a child in South Africa, a child in Kenya. They have the same experience, that it is the same thing. And this started pushing me, what can we do differently? How can we be able to change? And that's my mantra. If you can be able to change one child's life, you have changed a whole community, you have changed a whole nation. So it started pushing me, what can we be able to do differently? Four years ago, in 2017, I woke up one night, I think 16th of February, I woke up at night and I knew what I wanted. I knew the what. The how is what I didn't know. I needed to start a company that is going to be focusing on communicating children. It's going to be it's not going to be digital. Even I know what digital was then. I needed to start a company that will tell children stories. Okay, will tell stories from a perspective of children. So I woke up and I knew. So it was Mtoto. But when I started with what I knew best, and this is an advice I tell to a lot of people I'm speaking to. So how did you start? Start with what you know best. So I started with what my default was Twitter. Okay, we didn't have TikTok and Instagram then, or maybe it was there. I'm not very active on those ones. So I went on Twitter and opened an account. Okay, Mtoto News, and I had no idea. So I started remembering all my communication, all my things my communication lecturers what used to tell me. The what, the how, the 5 W, H, O, and H. So I said, okay, so what do I start? So I started just tweeting. I'll just tweet if there's a news item on business. So how is business going to affect children? Okay, the government has just announced budget. So how is that budget? So I just started tweeting and giving, and then I started a blog and growing up and started growing. But I had one of the best things I think I did was get an advisory board very early on. I think within the first 3 weeks of the idea, I just surrounded myself with people who I thought would give me. So one of them works in the NGO world in the advocacy area. Another one is a lecturer at Multimedia University, and another one is a tech person. So I surround myself with them, and I'll just call them to ask, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do this? And all of them, they told me, if you want to grow, you have to take the risk and add someone else. Let someone else help you to grow your idea. But as long as you're saying, oh, people are going to steal your idea, oh, you'll never grow, it will never pass you. And one thing I'll never forget, one of them told me, Jennifer is not scalable. And it was like, Jennifer is not scalable. Mtoto News is scalable, Jennifer is not scalable. So for you have to separate Jennifer from Mtoto News. So Mtoto News has to be an entity on its own, and you have to be able to think about it. And for you, scaling means adding more people. And adding more people means adding more ideas, adding more views to your idea, because your idea is just very unilateral, like it's just one way. But if you add someone else, they're going to come up with the ideas. Another one is and you're going to grow your idea beyond what you think. And that's what I did. So I was afraid. One, I was a bootstrapper. I did not have funding. I was bootstrapping. I had 2 children to feed. So I was bootstrapping, and I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? I cannot afford to employ. So luckily, in my advisory body, I had a lecturer and said, okay, so how I can advise you, start with interns, okay? Get interns and let them come, because they're looking for opportunities for them to get for their school. And you're looking for people to work for you. So it is a win-win, okay? They will get the experience, and you will get the work. So, and that's how I started. We're a digital media company, okay? So we are a digital company, but we do media. And we're using digital media to be able to speak for children, to be able to empower children to speak for themselves, and to provide a platform for children to speak for themselves, okay? So we do that. So we create content, we do our own creating of content, and we also curate content. We try to get content from across the board, locally, internationally, from different sectors, and curate it so that it is speaking for children. So we are arguing for children. For example, what I was talking about before, about business and business and things that people will not like, trade. How does trade affect children? Because that's something that people never speak about. Something like, how does this table affect children? Okay, so we'll try to curate content that is from a child perspective, okay? But you also provide a platform for children to be able to speak for themselves. So when we were starting, we wanted to bring children on our platform. But then we discovered these children have no idea how to sit on a camera, okay? And then we found there are those children who are very good at speaking to cameras, but there are those ones who are very good sitting behind a camera. So we started training them. So we have a training where we train children on how to just use digital. We train them on how to use their phones to do short videos, or to make videos, to edit, to do blogs. So, and then we give them a platform where to publish those videos and their content. When I hear entrepreneurship, I remember my first ever boss, Mr. Njoroge. I'm indebted to him because it was something that has stayed with me forever. And every time I want to do something, I always ask myself this question: is it a problem you're solving? So he told me that look for a problem that you can be able to solve. If you get the solution, money will come after that. That for me is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not getting money. Entrepreneurship is about solving a problem. Look at any successful entrepreneur. They don't go for money, they go to solving problems. Okay, what problem are you solving? Okay, what problem are you solving? So for me, the problem that we are solving, like for example from Mtoto News, is making children visible. There was a huge gap. Okay, right now we have, since we started, I think the last 2 years we have seen even mainstream media trying to put children in their platforms. But when we were starting, we were basically the only one. And I remember one influencer calling me and telling me, I don't think you guys are going to fly. What you're doing is I don't think it's, but anybody can buy. Like, nobody will want to buy. Why are you so niche? Try to be more diverse. Do women, do elderly, do children with disability or the disability. But I told them, no, I'm just going to stick to this because it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a gap that is available. So, and that is what entrepreneurship is: solving a problem. It's not getting money. Okay? If you want to be rich, don't go for entrepreneurship. One mistake I did at the beginning of my business was I'm from an NGO world. As much as I've done business here and there, I have never immersed myself into business. I've never worked in a corporate, in other words. I've worked in NGO world. So NGOs operate differently from corporates, okay? So for us, I didn't have that thing of profits, margins, things. Those are not terms that we use in the NGO world. As we work on budgets, on spending, on beneficiaries. We don't work on profits and margins. So when I started my business from an NGO perspective, I struggled because I'm from an NGO, so we don't have that perspective of profits. So and when you're doing your budgets, you're working on like what goes to cost, what kind of cost, and what is your profit. So I remember the first business we got, I spent all of it on paying people because I thought that's the right thing to do. But that for me, it was a huge lesson because the following day I was struggling with the everyday needs. And I prayed and asked God, give me wisdom on how to do this next time. So I learned on how, and I think I read on how to split for 100%, 30% goes to here, 30% goes here, and 20%. So every time we get, now from there on, I started dividing. 30% goes into paying the cost, and then you have to save about 20%. So from that 20%, I reinvest it. Okay, and that's how I have grown. Don't wait for the stars to align. Because the day you start, they will never align. The day they align, 3 of them will drop off, and you'll go back to drawing board. Okay, start. Okay, you know that the Nick thing that says just do it. Just do it is not just a Nike thing. It is a business thing. Just do it. And when you do it, I'm a Bible believer. There's something, God honors the first step. Okay? You know that the verse of the Bible that says, faith without action is dead. And the action, you have to do the action. And as soon as you take fast, for some reason, for everything for the last 4 years, I've noticed, as soon as you take the first action, it can be as an action like getting yourself out of bed, shaking yourself out, and writing one email to a potential customer. So it will be that one customer that is going to bring, they may not give you the business the first time, but they will speak to another customer about you. And someone will call you and say, hey, but then someone has told me about what you're doing. Can you send me as a quotation? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, you were referred to by so-and-so. That person, the person who didn't give you. Encourage yourself. Nobody will ever, don't wait for verification from other people. Believe in yourself. If you believe in God, believe in God. And try to ask Him for wisdom. Every day I wake up in the morning and say, God, I have no idea what I'm doing today. Can you give me wisdom? I have no idea. Like, I totally have no idea. I am overwhelmed. Can you give me wisdom on how to tackle these problems? Okay? And then don't run away from problems. If you want to be an entrepreneur, don't run away from problems. Because as an entrepreneur, the problems, as the business evolves, the problem evolves. They become bigger and more complex as you grow, you know? And so don't fear, and then take risks, okay? Take risks. Like now, I'm just taking a risk of setting up a studio. And every day in the morning I said, did I make the right decision? Until an influencer came yesterday and they took videos and posted them on their Instagram. And they told me, do you guys have an Instagram? So we had to start opening up Instagram accounts for the studio. Like, no, we don't have. I should make sure, because I want to, you know, in the last 2 weeks, actually, 2 influencers have come to the studio and say, we want to do something here. We want to do something. And it's because of a risk that you take. And risk means spending money, not knowing it's going to come back. Because people think risk is just, is just jumping out of a building, hoping you're going to land. But risk is spending money, and you have no idea if it's going to come back, okay? And then number 4, you have to be able to collaborate, okay? You are not, you don't control ideas. You don't monopolize ideas. Collaborate with other people, and as you collaborate, you will be able to fine-tune your idea. You'll be able to learn more from others to be able to improve your own idea. Don't think, me, I don't want to work with those guys. They are like, I don't know where. I don't want to. Now, if so-and-so, that person is known for stealing ideas. There's one organization, company in Kenya, people know. But if you don't, someone in that meeting will say something that was going to be the gap that you wanted to fill for you to perfect your idea. So don't fear. Don't fear to share your ideas with people, because as you share it, you finalize it.
Can you guess where I am? I am super excited because we are launching DX100, formerly known as CIO 100, and hosted across some incredible venues in Kenya. This year is going to be just the same, if not better. We're super excited to invite you to DX100 this year, and the difference this year is, for the first time ever, we are going to be celebrating and awarding people outside of the tech environment for their impact and their influence on digital transformation across multiple industries. Of course, the CIO remains at the heart of digital transformation, and we will be celebrating them in that way. However, this year we'll be celebrating CFOs, CMOs, CEOs, and businesses all the way across Africa, so not just from East Africa. We are so excited to invite you and to launch the DX100 Awards. Put your entries in and we'll see you in November.
African small business is able to grow, but it is also helping them have the right data, have the right infrastructure. We had enough for what we needed to do. This is the Legends Jasiri edition. My name is Rachel Ndu. I was born and raised in a small island in Kenya called Lamu. While I was still in primary school, I ran my parents' retail shop, and during holidays and after school in the evening, so my parents would entrust me with that. And was exciting. That's when, I don't know how they realized that there was an entrepreneur from 5 siblings. They picked me, and I was very small. I was barely 10. And then when I went to high school, we had expanded to other businesses, so we got into apparel. I had suggested that when I was in school, that why don't we try this? I think we have much potential in this, and somehow they listened. And then during my holidays, because I was in a boarding school, I could run the shop. So while others were having fun at home, then I had to run our apparel business. And then after that, I went to the university and studied computer science and mathematics. And during that time, even when I left my parent businesses, I still ran another retail business, which I sold a year later when I was 19. And so running a business was very natural, and I'm very fortunate that my parents nurtured that. Well, I was barely 10. After my university, and all this time, I was always the top student. So that also made, I guess, easier for my parents to feel more comfortable I taking the role of managing some of their businesses. Yeah, so after campus, I took a couple of jobs. And even while I was employed, I never viewed myself as an employee. So I always ran the roles like businesses. And after 2-3 years, I was promoted. I got to management. So I owned a P&L. So I was back to, my natural self of being an entrepreneur, running a P&L and controlling a business unit. Yeah, and then 2 years, I now joined Biashara Africa. That focuses on the African small businesses, enabling them to transition online and be able to reach customers online and manage their businesses better, have business records, and they can monitor their businesses. So I'm currently leading, and I'm also the founder of Biashara Africa, and happy to be in that space at this time, just supporting the African small businesses. I think I'm more of a natural, but I've also learned along the way. It's always good for an entrepreneur to equip yourself. Also learn from others who have been there before you, so have mentors, have coaches. So that has also fine-tuned my entrepreneurial possibly experience and exposure. Again, gaining the the experience, the training is equally important, whether formal or informal. And I also took time because I wanted to focus on international business, and I did a master's in international business administration from the University of London, just to get that exposure of managing businesses globally. Running family businesses when I was growing up impacted me greatly, because when you start running business, there's some skills that you need to develop. There's some virtues you need to have. For example, you need to be disciplined, you need to be focused, you need to have a purpose and a goal. So I think they trained me from an early stage, and the very obvious we don't like, like keeping records, being aware of what is coming in, what is going out, So at that very early age, I wasn't just left to run the business. Of course, on daily basis, I had to account for it, whatever was the stock and whatever had been the revenue as well. So I think that trained me to be more accountable and to be more conscious, because it was mandatory every day you just had to do it in the evening, which is a critical skill when you're running a business. And more so also looking at the business trends, the customer, and listening to the customers more. And running a business teaches you to be humble. And I say this to my friends, it teaches you to be human. You can be arrogant when you have a monthly salary check. You can be, and you can survive, not for long, especially today, but you can survive for some time. But when you're running a business, you just have to be human, you have to be humble. You have to appreciate life in its simplicity and have a bigger vision beyond self. So at Biashara Africa, every time I see a small business, I just want them to grow. I'm always thinking of how do we make it easier for them to transition their business online. So that's I would say what he taught me. Biashara Africa is a technology company based in Nairobi, Kenya, that empowers the African small businesses to transition their operations or to transition their businesses online. So through our web platform, small businesses are able to create their online shops and build their product catalog and be able to easily sell online and social media platforms or even offline via SMS. So what they get a website link and they have their small online shop or an e-commerce shop within under 10 minutes. The other part of our platform is that it enables them to track their daily activities. So they're able to know where is my traffic coming from. Is it through social media platforms? Is it directly to my site or through other marketplaces as well? So through that, they can make better decisions. They can also be able to see where their customers are from. For example, if you're in Kenya, then which counties are you having more customers or are your products more popular in? And then we optimize the shipping or the delivery options for you. So we also build an infrastructure that includes shipping and then also payments as well. So irrespective of where you're based, you can be able to sell anywhere in the country. You can also sell outside the country because we have shipping options there. We also have payments options for them, whether they are trading locally or internationally. We have made our platform very simple. It's fast to register and it's affordable. Our platform focuses mainly on the African small businesses. The small businesses owners have very limited technical expertise to use some of the platforms you've mentioned. So we made it so simple such that even if you have zero technical know-how. You can just be able to enroll and upload your product and you're good to go. And this is what we say, we start with you wherever you are. Then we grow with you. That's our approach. The other aspect is that other social media platforms that have shops, this limits the small businesses' reach. So what our platform has done is to enable that by enrolling on our e-commerce platform, then you can be on all those platforms. So you can sell on Facebook, you can sell on WhatsApp, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on marketplaces like Amazon or Jumia or any other. And then some of these platforms don't provide local shipping providers or options that serve wherever you are, irrespective of which remote town you live in, whether in Kenya or East Africa. When we started, we did pilot this for about 6 months before we rolled out our platform. And we got, why we did this is because, as you had mentioned earlier, there was also other platforms. So we wanted to know the experience. And I, having been an entrepreneur running similar small businesses, so I really have experience of how it feels not to be online. And I struggled with that. Even in my successful small businesses, that was always a struggle. How do I reach customers beyond my physical location? You know, beyond my neighbor, my friend, and those who know me, you know? And it's a headache for every small business. And I didn't have a solution. And I always kept saying, you know, I want to get to technology because I must solve this problem. It can't be a problem forever, you know? And I'm glad that today is a reality. We have also emphasized and really worked on providing the relevant infrastructure so that when I'm selling outside the country or beyond my county or beyond my town, then I don't have a headache of how the goods will be shipped or how I will receive payments. And believe it or not, anyone who has run a small business, it's always a headache how to receive money and how to ship products. And especially how to have the two optimized. And sometimes you may buy an item, but pay more for it to be delivered. That's an African problem. And it's not only in Africa or other emerging markets, but you know, it's also a global issue. Entrepreneurship, it's the only inspirational journey one can have because it helps you address difficult problems and real life problems. It also helps you address bigger challenges, and it gives you an opportunity to impact lives. That's what keeps an entrepreneur going. So I would urge entrepreneurs to have a bigger vision. If you don't have a bigger vision, go and help someone else who has a bigger vision to accomplish it, because that's the only thing that can drive you. We endeavor and work towards having all the African small businesses be mapped online and be available online and expose their products online. And during this time, since last year, our motto with the team is to ensure that no small business closes because they're unable to reach online audience. So every small business, wherever they are, they should be able to transition online. That's why we've also made our services and our solution very affordable and customized to the African small business. So that's what keeps us awake at night. Some of the challenges we've been facing, and when we were rolling out our solution about 2 years ago, was that being from the technology field, we assumed that some of the things were too obvious, you know, like You just create your profile as a business, add products, do the pricing and description, and you're good to go. It's that simple. But the more we listened to our customers and the African small businesses, we realized that we needed to view things from their perspective. So we then had to relook at our platform, simplify it, and it's something we keep doing it such that even with a very simple smartphone, then they can be able to build their online platform. And then providing support, irrespective of how simple a task may be. It could be possibly even just taking a photo of the product. We never thought that would be a headache, or having a name for their product. We assumed that was very obvious, only to learn from our customers that, you know, it's not obvious that that red dress can only be a red dress, you know, or that kitenge shirt, just a kitenge shirt, you know. So those small things that are too obvious, we've learned not to make them obvious, and just to provide support. Even the very foolish things that they're not too confident to ask about because they're also, you know, afraid and thinking it should be obvious. We ensure that we are readily available to assist with the very obvious task. The other one was we wanted to perfect the technology platform, and we took 6 months to learn what our customers needed. It wasn't something we really needed to do. You know, I have run small businesses personally, and I know why it pains more, and I know their challenges, you know, and we just needed to be courageous enough, roll out the solution, and perfect it and keep learning as our small businesses are using it. The last one is always thinking you need too much money. You know, and you do your P&L and you know, realize I need too much money. But thank God we had that challenge initially, but we got a mentor, and we realized we actually didn't. Yeah, because the mentor asked us the very hard questions. Why do you need the money? And for sure, we just didn't need it to start the business. We would like to be Biashara Africa in the next 5 years. Would wish to have empowered over 50,000 African small businesses, possibly be in more countries. We are dominantly in Kenya, but we're also serving other countries within East Africa, like Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda. We also have customers in Nigeria, Lesotho as well. In the next 5 years, we want to be in more countries. For now, I'll not be able to give the number of countries. We want to be a known brand that supports the African small businesses. So we'll keep increasing our services as we move along. So currently, our customers, apart from being online, selling online, getting data, they can get credit score, but we don't give credit, so we have partners that do that. We only generate the credit score. So by then, we would like to add more propositions so that it's a one-stop shop, or else, even if we're not doing it through directly ourselves, have partners that will be able to address most of our markets. So that a small business just being with us, then they have everything they need. We also want to have these small businesses create jobs, more jobs, because it's opportune time, and anyway, they employ over 80% of the employed people in Africa. So I think this is the right moment for small businesses to be online and expose themselves. And they shouldn't be limited to their location, because if we only consider the Kenyan market, then we may also limit them. So we want them to start from where they are, from the small town where they are, grow to the county level, then grow to another county, 3 counties, grow to distributing within Kenya, then grow to getting to other African countries, and possibly get to beyond the African countries. So yeah, we are keen on the African market because we feel it provides a wider market and a wider opportunity for small businesses. It's also ripe for the same. It's ripe to encourage small businesses within Africa to trade among themselves, something we haven't seen much of that before. I would like to encourage anyone planning to start a business, just do it. Just start now. If you didn't start it yesterday, now is just the opportune time to start. Don't wait for anything to be perfect. You know, just start now. Keep planning. Keep refining your solution. Keep listening to your customers. Be humble enough to listen to your customers and understand what they want. Use data, of course, to justify your market is sizable, to keep your business running. That's important. But just start. Have mentors, have coaches where you can. Learn from others, read about how others have done it, and just keep going. Don't stop. Yeah. So that's the encouragement I would like to give to those who want to start. It's never the perfect time. You'll never have everything in place. Just start and keep going.
You get a child at 19, really, you don't want to see your peers. You're seeing them doing all this stuff, graduating, going to the US, going to Canada, and it needs a lot of strength to tell yourself that that's their journey. It gives you a heart of gratitude where you look at your kids or you look at your life and you're like, this is me. This is the legend Jasiri edition. Anyway, I am Frida Wambui Mwangi, and I'm the founder of Kazi Remote Limited. It's a startup that actually offers a strategic workforce that is remote and skilled to deliver transcription, captioning, subtitling, and content writing services. So I'm born and bred in Nairobi. I was brought up in the Eastlands environs, so Isili, Huruma, Dandora, that's Mini Wamta. And then I went to Juja Road Primary School, that's around Pangani area. Did well and went to State House. Girls, that was a culture shock, I can assure you, coming from Eastlands. where everyone would be asking you, which school were you in? And everyone is from Makini, Riara, and you are here saying Juja Road. They're like, where is that? So, but I had a very supportive mother who would be like, don't worry about it. We are paying the same school fees. There's a reason you went there. It's because of your marks. So just be comfortable and study. But then I come from a very humble background. And I usually see that maybe we use the word humble to make it look good, but it's a poor background. And by the time I was in Form 2, there was no way of raising my school fees. And so our headmistress by then, may God rest her soul in peace, she was Mrs. Gikonyo. She was very understanding, and what she said is she's told my mom, I'm going to allow her to continue her studies because she's bright, but then she wouldn't be able to get her certificates. So just work hard and ensure that by the time she clears, you have the money and so that she can get her certificate. So I cleared in 98, got a B. I was supposed to get to university, but that didn't happen because of the certificates and the fact that we still didn't have money. So I had a lot of dreams, I would say, the ones you say I want to be. Personally, I wanted to become a pharmacist. That's what I wanted to become. But then that didn't happen. And then you of course, you feel like the world has just ended on you right there. And you go back home, you had passed, but that's it. And then immediately after that, I got pregnant. And I gave birth to my son at 19. I was actually 3 months shy of my 20th birthday. And the guy who made me pregnant was still in campus. So see, I had to stay with my mom for some time. But then we got back together after he'd cleared and added more. So another two boys and a girl. So when I had the boys, I think I was still okay being a housewife because I've really never worked after that. I was a full-time housewife and I was very okay with that. But then they got to a point where they started telling me that, Mom, I'm going to be very rich and then I'm going to marry someone and they're going to stay at home and take care of the kids like you. And so that was a light bulb for me. I was like, hey, in what generation are you going to get a girl who wants to stay in the house? So I told them, no, you work hard, that's fine, but you need to be prepared that you're going to get a woman who's also independent or who is working. But I thought I'm the one who's given them that example because I'm there taking care of them full time. The dad goes and comes back. So when I got my girl, who is a little one, I felt like I needed to do something because I needed to set another example for her. So on her first birthday, that's 2015, her birthday is in May. I sat down and I decided I have to do something now. But what do I do? Because you see, that is like 17 years gap period. So you can't start going back to asking for employment. And then I didn't want to do something that would take me out of the home. I had gotten used to managing them, taking them to school in the morning. They're finding me at home and such. And so I had two choices. Of course, the famous one is being an entrepreneur, find places you can supply beans or whatever. And then I tried that. It was very murky for me because of the corruption and all those things. So I didn't even start. I just left it and decided, that's not the path for me. But then I had heard about online work and I decided I'm just going to give myself some time and research this thing. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, maybe we'll try another thing. So I asked my hubby to get me internet in the house by then. And it was a huge thing because we went together to Telcom to look for a modem, by then. And I told him I just need, just make sure that there is internet for a full month because I need to find out if this thing works. It's stories people say. So I researched on my own, found a lot of scams. And then I found out that there's a Facebook community right here in Kenya that does online work. I joined in, followed it for a full month, and I realized there's so many things that you could do. But then again, here I am minus any higher education and then no technical skills. So what can I do? And then there was transcription. where I just needed to understand accents and type them out, find clients, and I would be working very well and remotely from home. So I talked to one of the ladies who was a trusted trainer and told her that I was interested, and she asked me for 1,000 shillings. That one I did not say that I am paying 1,000 shillings. I knew I would be told that it was a scam at home. So I just paid and kept quiet and waited for, for this lady to talk to me. The 1,000 shillings disappears. But then she responded and she started sending me the tutorials over email. So yet another new thing that you have to do. You're learning through emails, and it was a 10-day training. So 10 days we did the training, and she would have assignments like every day. I didn't know how to type, and to transcribe you have to be a very good typist, sorry. So I had to download like an app and keep practicing every day just to make sure that I'm good at that. And then what happened is that after the 10 days I had to do a test, and she gave me like an Indian accent kind of test, very deep Indian accent. And she told me, if you get a 90% on this one, I'm going to hire you. You'll be working under me. But if you don't, I can't take you. So I did the test, and I got an 88%. And so, she couldn't give me work. And so she told me, then I'll just show you how people find work, and all the best. Up until today, I think the 2 mark was a blessing. That 88% was a blessing in disguise, because it allowed me now to go out there into the platform called Upwork and started bidding, finding clients on my own. And first of all, that was very new. You're competing with a globe. You have to convince someone why they should choose you over like 100 or even 500 people. So it needed some kind of skills, which I can tell you for sure I didn't know then that I had. But I got my first client, my second client, my third client, very good ratings. In 3 months' time, I was top rated on Upwork. They did a spotlight freelancer on their social media, and they actually told me, you need to send a photo that shows you work remotely. This one particular job, because I usually talk about it because I feel like it's the job that turned everything around for me, was from Stanford University, and they had a collaboration with Ellis Island Museum. So they wanted people, they had oral history on tape, and they wanted it, they had of course digitized it, but they wanted it transcribed so that they can put it on the museum for the generations of those who left Europe during World War I and II to always refer to their families who went to America by then. So it was a very huge project, over 200 hours of work, and very informative for me. As in, I learned history that no book, I can promise you there's no book that has written that kind of history. And so with that, I started outsourcing. So I got this lady to give me the people she had trained, and I started outsourcing work for that. So we were able to turn around that work very fast. Even the way we had promised, we delivered better for this client. And it was very accurate, it was very good. And for them, the kind of feedback they gave allowed more clients to come in. So fast forward to 2017, that's 2 years later. That's when I formed now Kazi Remote. And I thought there's a lot of opportunity and work on the other end, and we have a lot of workforce on this other end. The problem is connecting the two. I think sometimes you always have it and you don't know in terms of the skill set or the mindset, but maybe because personally I didn't know I could go this far. But entrepreneurship means seeing an opportunity, testing it out, and then running with it, as in, see what happens. There's no formula to become an entrepreneur, but then once you get in there, you need structures to become successful. You need to understand what exactly you want to achieve. You need to understand the people you're working with or the clients you're working with. So because I know many people, entrepreneurship, they're told research, know your target market. There are those things. In my case, I think I learned on the job these things. I didn't do it before. I would say my capital was 1,000 bob for the one that I paid for the training and the one that we used to buy the internet, the gadget and the internet. And then in terms of a laptop, I didn't even have. I used to use hubbies. And so out of my proceedings of the work that I would get, I was able to buy my own laptop. And then in terms of the company, it's also that, as in it was from the amount of money I had made, which was actually 30,000 for the lawyer who was supposed to register the company. When you're brought up in some communities, like I said, where I think poverty surrounds you, and you have to make a decision that I have to get out of this. As in, there's no uncle somewhere coming to rescue you. It has to come from you. You have to make a decision, and then you fail over and over. And I think even this, for being someone who had ambitions in high school and that didn't happen, I think it takes a lot of strength to rise again and to tell yourself that, Sawa, that didn't happen, but what can I do right now with this situation that I am in? So I think in terms of, what can I say, being your own cheerleader. So, sometimes I even tell my kids that you don't need anyone to motivate you. Your mind will tell you things, negative things, but again, you have to sit down with your mind and tell your mind, we are not going that route. This is the way. So it has a lot of self-motivation and a lot of self, what can I say, as in you push yourself. So our promise really is to elevate to the digital worker. I went through unemployment. I understand it very well, the depression that goes with it, the hopelessness and all that. And I can tell you not many young people will stay 17 years and rise up. That doesn't happen. And then when I look back at where I grew up, as in most of my peers died. It's not out of alcohol, they were shot. It happens. And so for me, when I realized that I had stumbled on this opportunity where I could create work, because Kazi Remote really is about creating work, and it's bringing work to where you are. You do not have to come to my office for as long as you have the technology and the infrastructure required, and the push to learn these new things. So I know the unemployment narrative is a big issue. I cannot take it as Frida Mwangi, because I think even the government is struggling with that. But I can change one life step by step. I realized when I was a freelancer, I was giving 5 people work consistently. As in, their bills were being paid because of what I was doing. What if I just make this formal and continue finding this work, training people? And even if I train you and I'm not giving you work, I have empowered you in such a way that you can now go out there and find your own work. So that really was the basis of forming Kazi Remote. And so far, I have a database, the one that I can tell you that people who have gone through my hands, either I've given them work or I've trained them and they are working, is over 250. So for me, it's impact already. Technology has created trust, and it has allowed us now to connect. The other thing that technology it has allowed me to reach people who are not just in Nairobi, young people who are just not in Nairobi. It has allowed that connectivity where a young person in Nairobi gets the same accessibility or the same privilege as anyone who's in, I won't use Turkana, US English because I've worked with someone from there. My biggest challenge actually is the workforce, the skills. So I'm working with millennials, most of them, or younger. They do not want to work like 8 hours non-stop. The other thing is that someone will tell you that, yes, we can work together, and then they ghost you. So what I've learned is that when I give them work, I do not give them specific deadlines to what the client is looking for. I'll have a margin, because when you do not deliver, then I have time to turn around and find someone else to do it, or I can even do it, or someone else can do it. Then the other problem is remote working. Of course, there's internet issues. There's power, which is most of what they will use as an excuse. So what I've done with them is that I give them work 4 hours a day. And then, it gives them that thing of flexibility. It's a side hustle. I am doing this thing only 4 hours a day. That has worked. But if you tell them to work between 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., hiyo ni yako, honestly. So the workforce has been the biggest challenge. The other challenge is now, of course, we're getting consistent work. Because if I have this client who's giving me maybe 500 hours of worth of work, or a digital marketing agency giving us content to write for them, then you need to know, where do I get the next client to keep these people busy or to continue, because they also, you promise to give them work. So they're also expecting that after tukimaliza hii, then there's still another project coming up. So I think if I had started this when I was younger, it would not look the way it does right now. Because I am personally right now, if I meet a young person and I take them through the path, and they call me later and tell me, I actually got my first job. See, I buy you coffee. I tell them, no, pay it forward. But it makes me so happy at this moment that I wouldn't compromise that for anything. But if I had started earlier, of course, a big car and good house and everything, that would be a priority. But right now, it's really the change. Because I think the kids have grown up. So for me right now, it's bringing that change. And if I'm the channel, why not? I think we have that capacity one way or the other. The way you're brought up, the things that happen in your life, I am so sure they are supposed to get you somewhere. It doesn't just happen. So this journey I went through, no matter how hard it was, it's why I'm here actually, and the fact that I was able to do this application, I don't know, we don't know you, we don't know each other, and then I get a call that you're one of the 10, I think you can do it. It doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter your level of education. I'm not saying people do wasisome. It's always good to have an education, but you have that everything that you have gone through in your life is meant to take you somewhere. So that's your story, own it anyway.
My name is Stacey Wanjeri. I'm the Virtual and Hybrid Events Coordinator for Onia Studios at CIO Africa. Onia Studios was established in the late 2020, and since then we've been delivering high-end webinars, podcasts, virtual summits, hybrid summits, and TVCs. Of course, all these are incorporated with high, rich graphics. When I hear events, definitely experiences come to my mind. Events bring people together, so they unite people. Events bring investors together. You can achieve valuable profits through events. Follow us on all our social media pages. They're available online on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also give us a call on 0790-127-315. We are also available on email. You can send us an email at studio@serioafrica.co. Reach out to us and we shall organize a complete tour of all our studios, which are located along Limuru Road. On Air Studios, let's event.
I have the reason why this and this is not working, and if I keep doing things differently, it will work. They call me the dreamer, and this is something that they started calling me from high school. But at that time I was thinking in my mind, what is she thinking? Why would I need a job after 4 years? This is the Legends Jasiri edition. My name is Mohammed Sharif Adan. I'm the CTO currently and co-founder of Dawati. As you know, Dawati is a Swahili word that means desk. This is an e-learning platform that targets high school students in Kenya that was started about 4 years ago. Before that, I used to work as a solutions architect for one of the local IT firms in Kenya. My background is in IT. I did computer science from the University of Nairobi. I graduated in the year 2007. Before that, of course, I've gone through the whole 844. So that's the last 4. So the other 4, which was high school, I did it at a place called Magadi Secondary School. That's a secondary school that's about 120 kilometers south of Nairobi, in a small town that is an island on the Magadi Lake. So for the past 4 years, we've been pushing this Dawati to try and transform high school education in Kenya. Generally, if you look at the statistics or what happens in high school, is that every year about 86% of the students do not attain the required grade to go to university or pursue a tertiary education. And we thought this is something that maybe needed a big intervention using technology. I have 4 children. The eldest is about 7 and the youngest is about 1 year old. As you could guess from their ages, they are currently in the lower section of education, that is PP1 and PP2 under the new CBC system. We have been people who have been moving around a lot. So when I tell people where I've gone to school, I've been here, I've been this place, they usually wonder whether I was my parents were civil servants or something like that, but they were not civil servants. We were just people who were moving from place to place. Maybe it's because we have been nomads for a long time. My parents' interaction with business was not a very, serious. It was these businesses that people do as, you try 1 or 2 things, it runs for a bit, it fails. So I can't say I drew my inspiration from there. What I think my parents did for me, and which maybe they insisted very strongly, was education. So anytime we moved from place to place, one of the things that my parents insisted was that I get good education. And this was both traditional and formal education. So when I say traditional education is that when I was much younger, I attended a traditional school, which in my language we call Duksi. So this is where we learn how to memorize the Quran, and we read and write in Arabic. So we don't use books there, and we don't use pen. We use homemade ink that is made of charcoal and milk, or either charcoal and cell sap from a tree. For writing, we normally use a piece of wood or a tablet. And it's not the modern tablet, it's like the tablet that was used by Moses, so the old kind of tablet. That's what I mean when I talk about tablet. So that was actually my first school. So I went to that school. After completing that school, that's when I started my formal schooling. In fact, there were times when I was taken from one place to another place by my father just to go and school and leave my mother and the rest of my siblings behind. When I did my KCSE in the year 2007, I was the top student in that school, Magadi Secondary. I was also the top student in Kajiado County, that school is in Kajiado, and I was also in the top 100 students for Rift Valley province. So that now allowed me now to go to the degree of my choice at the university of my choice. After high school, I was hired by a company called Magadi Soda Company. I was taken as a management trainee immediately after high school, but that was it was a reward scheme because I was a student, who studied from a school in their town, and I was a top student, so they thought that they could reward me to motivate other students in the future. So they gave me a management trainee, although that program is usually reserved for students who are out of college. So I went there, but after about 6 months, I quit. So the reason why I quit was that I wanted to go into business. At that time, I had an ambition of becoming a millionaire before I joined the university. And I thought this, program was holding me back from that ambition. So I came with a few ideas that I thought, could propel me to where I wanted to go. One idea was starting ISP. At that time, if you remember, that's around 2002. And that is when the internet, boom was hitting Kenya. There were a number of cyber cafes that were coming up. So I came up with a business plan. I came up with a proposal. Then I pitched the idea to a few people I knew who could, who could raise the capital. They agreed to the idea. Unfortunately, when it came to walk the talk, they never committed the money. So that idea didn't work. I tried 2 other ideas. All the ideas I tried actually didn't fan out, didn't work. So to cut a long story short, I did not become a millionaire before joining university. So I joined the university, and I still had to go through the normal process like any other student and get my help. But one of the things that I also learned is that you could have the ideas, but sometimes, putting together the resources that is required to actualize the idea is not a very straightforward process. What entrepreneurship meant to me was freedom. Freedom from a lot of constraints. So one of the things I was saying that I want to have, unlimited resources and unlimited time, which I thought the only way to get such kind of opportunities is through entrepreneurship. If, let's say, I'm working, I'm a very successful C-suite level employee. I still have a lot of limitations with respect to my time. So I thought entrepreneurship gives me unlimited time, control of my time and resources. The other thing that pushed me towards this was I thought through it I will be able to impact. I had always had, this urge of doing big things. In fact, over the years, from that time to date, it's like every year I normally come up with a big idea, which if I look at, for example, my computer or my directory that I have online, I have like 20, 30 folders, each with a write-up of a different kind of a project that I tried at a different time. So some of them I go back to them, others they are just there in the waiting. In fact, sometimes I say, I look at somebody like maybe, Elon Musk, and one of the things I tell myself is that maybe I need my PayPal, I need that one big thing that I can do that's very successful, that will give me the freedom, the resources, and maybe, the credentials now to actualize all those other big dreams, In the background, I always knew, the challenges that we've had with education. For example, when I was in the university, I was the Secretary General for Computer Science Students Association. And while I was there, I organized a project. I wrote a proposal to Safaricom to fund an ICT project in rural areas. So at that time, I went to Garissa, and we trained about 120 students and teachers on ICT. So from there, I was always aware, the disparities that exist in education. Where, for example, you go to a school, let's say in a county like Garissa, and you will find that out of 100 students in a school, 87% can score below C. In fact, a very recent statistics is in the year 2019. I was just seeing one school there which had 79 students, and 70 had below D+. But when you come to some other schools, like let's say you go to Alliance or Pangani Girls, you will find 97% had C+ and above. So I thought, why this disparity? And one of the main challenges was, access to quality teaching. Now I thought, if I'm able to use this kind, of videos to do my certification, what if the same is done for these high school students? Wouldn't that give them, opportunity to learn and maybe, improve their chances of higher education and success in later life? So that's how the inspiration for Dawati came. For the idea to work, I needed two things. One, I needed to develop the platform, and I needed to create the content. So the platform, that was on me and maybe, any other technical person I could get. The content, I needed teachers. So I talked to 2 teachers. I sold them the idea, and they bought, but I was not paying them anything. I told them, when this thing succeeds, we will all, you will all make money. Unfortunately, after a few months, the things were not moving, and they stopped picking my calls because, I was not paying them anything. So that led me to realize one thing, that sometimes it's very difficult, to demand something from people if you don't have what I call instruments of coercion, which is either money or, power. Like, either you have to be paying somebody something, then you can demand. So that was the first attempt at Dawati, which failed. In 2010, I revived again the idea. So this time I thought maybe what I could do is I could put a team together. So I got 3 of my mates in college. I told them, let's do this idea. So they bought the idea, we registered a company, and then we started. After 1 year, we ran again into the same problem. because these were all partners. Nobody has, authority of another. It's a voluntary group, and we didn't have resources. So the second attempt, it failed. That was in 2010. Then I made a third attempt in 2012. The same idea. This time I pitched to a company that I was working for. I told the CEO, there's this idea. I have the idea, I have the plan, how it could be implemented. You have the resources to make it possible. So can we go ahead and do it? He said yes, but talk to the business development person, work with him to execute the idea. So I started working with the business development person. After some time, the business development person has other priorities always, which is to bring business and not necessarily, do work on incubating an innovation. So that was the third attempt. It failed again. I tried again in 2013 with another organization. It didn't work. So that was the fourth attempt, which failed. Now, in 2015, I was working for another company, another IT company. So while I was there, you always come against these reports of what happened in last year KCSE, how 87% of the students are not making it. He said, no, I cannot have a solution and let it fail just because the people I was working with are not committed enough. So now I pitched again to the CEO of that company because I was working, and I said, I have this idea, let's work on it. Provided the funding, I provided the technical expertise, and we become directors, we become shareholders now with the idea, we become co-founders. So he bought the idea and he agreed to provide the resources. So at this point, I've also learned, a few things from my previous failures, which was, for example, if you are working with maybe people to develop something for you, you have to pay them. You have to have contract so that, there's accountability. So at this time, I went, got the teachers, we signed contract with them, agreed milestone, payments, everything is agreed up front. And now that time started moving. So by around 2016, we had the first prototype of the web. Then by around 2017, we started developing the app, and by 2018 now we have launched both the app and web. If you look at, for example, how the resources are distributed in this country for high schools, you'll find the best teachers are in a few top schools. And it's very difficult to convince this teacher to move from this school to another school, where his services are needed more, but he's not doing as well. Because these top schools also give them more opportunities, more exposure. So the idea was, since we cannot replicate these teachers physically, you cannot photocopy a human being. So we thought, now this is where technology can come. So if you get the top teachers in the country, you train them to develop e-learning content, which is in multimedia, videos, e-books, and practicals. And then now you allow access to every student in any part of the country. Then it means every student will have at least, maybe not equal opportunity, but a good opportunity, because now you are in a school in Lokichogio, but you can learn from the same teacher that is teaching Alliance. And because this teacher is being paid to do that, he's actually very motivated to provide good quality learning experience. By 2020, we had completed the content. So when I said we launched, for example, in 2017, that is what is called MVP, minimally viable product. So it had like 20% of the content, and it had the web and app working. Currently, we've completed the content for 7 subjects. That is all the sciences, all the languages, mathematics, and history. So what we have now, the content for those subjects end-to-end, which actually was only achieved towards end of 2020. In terms of traction, currently we have about 33,000 students who are registered on the platform. These 33,000 students are from about 4,000 different schools. The other achievement has been in terms of the impact as we measure from the content consumption. Currently, we have about 220,000 minutes have been consumed on the app for both e-books and videos, and this is growing. It's growing every day. So from our side, we've made great strides. Of course, we are not where we would have wanted to be. Where we would have wanted to be was, we have about 3 million students in high school. So maybe I have about 1 million students or more registered on the platform. We have an Android app, which is our main platform that has most students. We have a web platform, and we have a desktop platform. Have an idea, believe in it. 2, know that you are going to fail, maybe more often than you are going to succeed. But the difference between the person who is eventually going to make an impact and the one that will not even be a footnote in history, which means that there's even no awareness about him or her, is the one who gives up at the first or second attempt. So always have the idea, big idea that you believe in, but be ready to put your time and energy. And when you fail one way, always be ready to try in a different way. We like to give a lot of excuses. Excuses are very, they are very soothing on why, you have failed or why you are failing. Why, for example, the system is working against you. Why maybe the angel investors in Africa are not interested, or why the VCs, are not interested in your idea or certain types of ideas. But at the end of the day, it's your idea. It's not the system's idea or the angel investor's idea. So you are the one who is responsible for its failure and its success. And it means if you can't put your time and energy to get it to a point where people can see some results or traction, then you only have yourself to blame. Nobody owes you anything, or nobody owes anybody anything. It is you and you alone to make your idea a success.
Can you guess where I am? I am super excited